Hi everyone, welcome to our Work From Home Tech Training Tuesday webinar. We're actually filming this on a Wednesday morning because we forgot to hit record last Tuesday. And our expert, Dr. Heiss, has been gracious enough to rejoin us for a second time. A few of us are here to listen and we really wanted to share this with you, so we re-recorded it. So our Work From Home Tech Training Tuesdays are something we started once people were home in quarantine and working remotely. And as an online training company, we asked our teachers how we could help. And we decided that we could put our teachers in webinars, teaching skills they know that could help people while working from home. And most of them are software related, but this one is related to stress. So again, this April 21st upcoming date no longer relevant, but on April 28th at 5 p.m. our next live webinar is with Emily Lugo on Gmail tips and tricks. And the following Tuesday on May 5th, we have Idaho, don't know how to say his last name, sorry, building a crisis management site in SharePoint. I need to learn how to say that because I've said that for 2 weeks now. But anyway, so you can join us on the 28th or the 5th. If you're watching this before that at 5 p.m., you can register for the Zoom webinar from our website, getbiggerbrains.com. If you click on blog or go directly to that link with blog, and the first blog post has links to our Zoom webinars. So we are Bigger Brains. I'm the VP of Content for Bigger Brains. We also have on this meeting Chip Reeves, CEO and President of Bigger Brains, and we create online training. A lot of leadership, productivity, and some of our training is available for free, again, on our YouTube channel. So you can go to our YouTube channel. There's a Microsoft Teams Essentials course free right now for a limited time, and Outlook Online Essentials to help people while they're working from home. And then we have mastering courses that are a lot longer, available from different places. But you can get information on all of that at getbiggerbrains.com and contact us. Okay, so today I mentioned we have with us Dr. Heiss to talk about stress and how to deal with it during this time. Dr. Heiss is dedicated to helping us overcome our evolutionary limitations, the ancient fears that hold us back, fears that we're often not even consciously aware we have. Her research has been designated transformative by the National Science Foundation, and it is waking up audiences around the world. Dr. Heiss confronts these fears daily in her own work and applies her research to solve the practical problems of overcoming the unconscious behaviors that haunt modern life. She is currently launching a new self-awareness 360 review app called Acuity.com to help every individual reach their full potential. She's also finishing her new book, Instinct, due to be published in May 2021. She has been honored to speak internationally on her work, including multiple TEDx talks, and has found her calling in helping others recognize the power of unconscious biological limitations in their lives. She lives in Greenville. She has a dog named Guinness, and her life motto is to spread happy. She's also a good friend of mine, so please join me in welcoming Dr. Heiss.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here today. And with any luck, I should be able to share my screen shortly.
I'm going to stop mine. Yeah, there you go.
All right. And we'll get this show on the road. All right. Do we see the screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today for dealing with dis-ease, looking at some stress coping mechanisms in these strange times. So I want to start off with actually some bad news, and I'm sorry for that. But the problem that most of us are experiencing is that we have bad brains. Our brains aren't built for this world. They're built for this one. And it's a world where we lived with about 150 or so other individuals. And we lived like this for 200,000 years, right up until the last 200, when this starts happening. And we have this explosion in technology and populations and lots of exciting cultural events. And the problem, of course, is that while we're connected now to 8 billion people and all of these extravagant multiple things have been happening, biology doesn't operate on the same trajectory. It's a lot slower. So biologically, our brains are stuck way back here. So we're operating with Stone Age brains in a modern environment. All right, so here's the problem. When we're asking these brains to process this world, well, there's a few things that are different about this world, like the amount of information that is coming at us. We have about 400 billion bits of information coming at us every single second in this modern world. And our Stone Age brains are only capable of processing about 2,000 of those consciously. Which means if you want to do the math with me, that 99.999999999% of the time, we're operating from our subconscious. So where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us with some mismatches between our fears and our realities. Let's talk about fear, especially as it relates to what a lot of us are experiencing right now. A year ago today, we had a poll across the United States to ask, what is the number one fear? Any guesses? You guys have all seen this before, so it's a little unfair.
It's not public speaking anymore, right?
It's not, although public speaking is up there. It's like number 2 or 3. It's high, but it's not number 1. The number 1 fear is a lot less rational than that. It's snakes. Snakes. That's so absurd. Think about it. Consciously, that is a completely ridiculous thing to be afraid of, because you are literally 9 times more likely to get struck by lightning and die than you are to die of a snake bite. And yet, it makes a whole lot of sense subconsciously, because when we're operating with our brains that are stuck in the Stone Age, well, for our ancestors wandering around the savannah trying not to die, snakes were a real thing that we should be afraid of. But if we're not consciously processing the information that's coming at us today, we're not rational about our fears. And unfortunately, the way our brains work, we don't have a rational way of sorting out what we should fear, like an immediate life or death situation, and what's just these everyday stressors that are adding up. So we treat everything as if it was a tiger jumping into our space. Our brains release the same chemicals, we have the same stress response, independent of whether it's actually a tiger, and that response would help us in that case, or it's our social media or the news that's constantly coming in. Our brain has the exact same stress response, which, again, if it's a tiger, great. Those are all useful things to have happening in our bodies. But if it's our social media interrupting us, or our news flashing information that's kind of stressful and we don't really know what to do with that, when our brain releases these chemicals, we're experiencing that same stress response that's not useful and actually makes our conscious minds shut down. And we start reverting to these stories that we know that were useful back for our ancestors, but today aren't particularly helpful. So when we're stressed, having our heart rate increase, or for us to start shaking or have dry mouth, those aren't particularly useful reactions. So how do we start overcoming and sorting our fears into actual life-threatening things that we need to pay attention to, like, whoa, it's actually a tiger, or this is just my email, or Kathy walking up to my desk and surprising me, so that I understand how I can better process these everyday stressors. All right, so let's talk about some good news here. The good news is that our brains are highly trainable. Think about this. Do you remember the first time that you drove a car? My guess is your hands were at 10 and 2, and you're looking all around, you're looking at the speedometer and trying to keep track of those pedestrians, and oh my gosh, it's a lot to take in, because you're trying to do this new thing consciously. Go ahead, Jackie, sorry.
I was gonna say, and your dad is like staring at you like, don't.
Oh my gosh. Don't screw up, and you're like, oh my gosh, and you're processing all of this consciously for the first time. It's why it's so stressful. Now, the good news is, of course, if you drove any time recently, you're probably like laid back and just listening to music, talking to your cell phone. I hope you're not, because, you know, distracted driving, not cool. But you're not actually consciously processing all of these things anymore. You've trained your subconscious to deal with this, to drive for you. That's great news, because what that means is that your subconscious is trainable. All right, more good news. Not only is your subconscious trainable, it is incredibly powerful. So this is hands down my favorite research of all time. A group of housekeepers split into 2 separate groups, right? One group is told nothing. The other group is told, hey, did you guys know that when you're cleaning, you're actually meeting the Surgeon General's requirement for exercise? That's the only difference between the two groups. They all wore these nifty-difty wristwatches, which tracked their exertion levels, their steps. All of that was factored out of the analysis. They were also kept on strict diets, so that was factored out of the analysis. And yet, after 4 weeks' time, there was a massive difference between the two groups. Guesses as to what it was? Again, you've seen this, so a little unfair. Of course, the big difference, the one that was told, the group that was told that they were exercising more, had lower weight, lower blood pressure, lower body fat, lower waist to hip ratio, and a lower body mass index after 4 weeks' time. Now, I read that study and I was like, you are an athlete. I mean, I'm also a bit of a skeptic, right? So I was like, there's no way that the only difference between these two groups was that one was told they were exercising more. So I dug into this research and I found more research that supports it. And I found more research that supports it. And I think so often what ends up happening is we dismiss this because it's placebo. It's irrelevant. It's a placebo effect. Yeah, that's amazing, because our brains are so powerful that what we tell them has great relevance in how it manifests in our bodies, in our relationship with ourselves, and in our relationship with others. So what are the stories that you're telling yourself? I want to invite you to take just 5 seconds, and it's going to feel like an eternity, but just close your eyes with me for 5 seconds and just listen to that internal voice. What's she saying? Did he tell you anything? If you're anything, huh?
You tell me, yeah, mine's insecure about my skin in this light, and also like worried that I'm gonna be tired today and want to nap, because I wanted to nap like this whole time.
Right. And these are such powerful voices. Think about that as being the same voice that's telling those housekeepers that they're exercising more. So what's your voice doing? I'm tired. My skin doesn't look good. People are going to judge me. They're going to kick me out of the tribe. What? These are ancient fears that drive our stress response up that today really aren't that relevant. So we have to get better control over these ancient fears, because I'll tell you, Jackie, just hearing you say, I'm a little insecure about how my skin is looking, I'm going, oh my gosh, me too. And I'm not judging you at all, because I would never kick you out of the tribe. In fact, my level of respect for you just went through the roof, because I can have that empathetic moment. And yet these fears, these same voices stop us from admitting those fears. They stop us from really exploring them. And it's only when we're quiet long enough for that 5 seconds to however long you can stay quiet and still with yourself that you actually hear those voices. Now, this is part of the reason why meditation is so powerful, because what meditation does is it forces you to sit with yourself quietly for a second, listening to this voice. So I want to do just a little thought experiment. I want you to take that voice, wrap her or him up, pull that voice out of you, and personify your voice. Sit them down next to you as a friend, as a person, maybe not a friend. How long would you choose to hang out with that person? That voice in your head.
No.
I see Jackie doing this. Chip, no? Anyone? Right, me either. If you're anything like me, you're like, no thank you. And yet, we hang out with them 24/7, 365. We've got to get better control over these voices, because they are driving the way we feel, the way we interact with ourselves, and the way we interact with others. So I know a lot of you shy away from meditation. I certainly did too, for a really long time, because I had a voice here that's saying, oh, that's woo-woo. What? Yeah, and it's also incredibly backed by science. So I encourage you all to try it, whether it's a meditation app, whether you watch YouTube to learn how to do it. The biggest thing that I hear people saying is, I can't do it because this happens, right? I try and get quiet for a second, and I have all these voices come in. Great, that means you're doing it. That's exactly the point. If you're quiet and still with yourself long enough to hear the voice, that's when you get to control the voice. It's the only time that you actually hear it, because it's operating subconsciously through our busy days most of the time. So if you're quiet long enough to hear the voice when you're meditating, you get to say, hey, thanks, yeah, that's not a story I need right now. Goodbye. And the voice might go away for 3 seconds if you're like me, and then she comes right back. And most people at this point say, well, I can't meditate. I'm just bad at it. No, you're doing it perfectly. Those voices, when they keep coming, the more practice that you get in saying, that's not a story I want to tell, let's change that story, or that's really not relevant right now, goodbye. That gives you more conscious power throughout the day. All right, so I think we all deserve to be telling better stories to ourselves and to the people that we love. Treat yourself as if you were your best friend. Here's a quick video showing a friend of mine's research. The monkey here has a really simple task. He has to hand the researcher a rock, and he gets as a reward a cucumber. You can see he's very happy with it. The other monkey is going to do the exact same thing, only he gets a grape. And what you need to know is the grapes are the best thing you can give a monkey. So this other guy's like, oh, sweet. And he does the task really quickly, and he gets, once again, a cucumber. Nope, not okay. He is really upset about this. He's like, well, this is a joke. I'm doing the exact same thing. This guy's getting grapes. I'm getting cucumbers. You know, this is, I'm not even sure if I want to do this task anymore. The researcher's like, come on, you gotta do it. So the monkey does it, and he gets again a cucumber. And you can see he doesn't even sample it this time. He's like, no, absolutely not. Don't want it. I want you all to become that monkey. You have been accepting cucumbers. You've been accepting these stories, these subconscious drivers of fear and stress and anxiety. We've got to tell better stories. Reject that cucumber. There are grapes to be had out there. Go get the positive stories to reinforce and lower that stress. All right, so here are some practical strategies, 3 quick tips to actually lowering that stress. The first thing is to set awareness alarms, to try and eke out a small bit of time that you're a little more conscious throughout the day. So if any of you set alarms in the morning to wake up at regular intervals, have you done that before? Yeah? Do you recognize that you start to wake up just a few minutes before that alarm goes off?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course, because you've trained your brain to become conscious. If any of you are saying, no, that doesn't happen, you're sleep deprived. We'll talk about that at another time, right? But otherwise, you've trained your brain to become conscious at that time. That's great. We're going to use that exact same technique now while you're already awake. So throughout the day, for the next week, I would love for you all to set 5 alarms to go off throughout the day at regular intervals. Here's what's going to happen. When the alarm goes off, you're going to shut the alarm off and just take a breath. Check in with yourself. Ask yourself the question, what am I afraid of right now? What am I afraid of right now? Is it a story that I can change? Is it a subconscious fear that is driving my stress and anxiety here? Like, maybe my skin won't look good. They're gonna kick me out of the trap. Maybe I need to rewrite that story. Or you might even catch yourself about to send an angry email to a colleague because they stressed you out. These alarms are meant to sort of pull you back and say, can I tell a different story? The great news is, just like you've trained yourself to wake up in the mornings, these alarms you won't need for very long. Maybe for the first week to get you in the habit. And then after that first week, you're going to just kind of wake up and check in with yourself and have this conscious moment of time where you get to say, am I telling the story I want to tell right now? By the way, your brain will slip right back into that subconscious space, and that's okay, because we're working to train our subconscious to tell better stories too. All right. The second piece of advice is to exercise discomfort. Now, I know this sounds completely opposite to everything we should be doing right now. You're probably saying, whoa, I'm already experiencing really high levels of discomfort. The last thing I need is more discomfort in my life. Well, maybe, but here's the way your brain operates. Your brain is very black and white. It can only see two discrete options. Either one, I'm safe, everything is good, life is calm. That's where your brain likes to live. Or you dip your toe into a little discomfort and your brain leaps from here to panic mode, complete, absolute, we're gonna die, tigers are jumping at us, and there's no in between. There's no gray, it's just black or white. So if you're living in this tigers are jumping at us mode, you're living with high levels of stress and anxiety and you're not making the best choices. So we have to find a strategy to keep your brain understanding that there is a big level of gray in between those two options. We have to start sorting our fears into that's a tiger or that's a fear that probably needs to be rewritten. Here's how we can do that. We can exercise some discomfort. For example, perhaps today you do everything you normally would do, but with your non-dominant hand. So try brushing your teeth. For me, I'm a right-handed girl, so I brush my teeth with my left hand. It's really uncomfortable. It's really weird. It makes me feel not great. But I'm training my brain, oh, well, I didn't die. It was okay. I didn't have a tiger attack me. No big thing. I'm living in that discomfort, and I'm training my brain that not every piece of discomfort makes me have to go into that stress response. My favorite one, honestly, if you liked that, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry you had to watch that, but have a dance party, preferably public, because it does start these voices going like, dude, your hips don't move like that. Really? Yeah, they do. Why do we stop from doing things like this? Because it feels weird, it's awkward, it's embarrassing. Why? Are you going to be kicked out of the tribe? Are people that you love going to judge you? If anything, they're going to be like, wow, that was brave. So we start to seek discomfort. Now, when discomfort finds us, we've trained our brain to say, oh yeah, I remember the last time that happened. You know, I did like that dance, that weird dance on camera, and I didn't die, and nothing bad happened as a result. Cool. So I probably don't need to fear you the same way I need to fear a tiger. You can stay calm, stay in a space of conscious, thoughtful processing rather than having to rely on these subconscious stories that are going to immediately put you into that stress response of subconscious reactionary behaviors. All right. So I expect, by the way, all of you to be uploading epic dance videos to YouTube. I'd like to see them. Just load them in the comments because that would be fun. All right, last but not least, the easiest way to lower your stress is to get something green. Get a green plant. Having a green plant in your office, in your workspace, in your home increases your ability to concentrate, your pro-social behaviors, your physical health, your job satisfaction, your creativity, and your productivity, all while lowering your cortisol, that's your main stress hormone, your blood pressure, anxiety, air pollution, and sick building syndrome. It's as simple as getting a green plant. Now, that sounds simple for all of you. I'm sure for me, it sounds incredibly complex because I do not do well with green plants. I try my best and they die. So if you are like me, just get a fake plant. Our brains aren't as smart as we give them credit for sometimes. So they don't actually know the difference. Stoneage brain doesn't understand what plastic is. It sees a green plant and it's like, ah, green plant, great. I'll give you all these benefits. Get a fake plant. With a fake plant, you get the exact same benefits, minus the air pollution. Does nothing about air pollution, all right? But for the rest of the things, the ability to concentrate, your creativity, your productivity, you're getting the same benefits with a fake plant. You could put a picture of a green plant. Ooh, look, green. You can put a picture of a green plant and you get the same benefits. So again, very simple, very practical. Go get yourself something green and get a lower stress response. So those are my 3 tips and tricks for becoming a little more comfortable in this strange time of dis-ease. Set awareness alarms, exercise discomfort, get green, and start getting control over these stories. We have one story that we get to control. It's our own. Start listening into the story that you're telling yourself and see if it needs a little modification. So my father was a minister, and I don't remember a whole lot of sermons. I do remember one. He stood in front of his congregation with a bottle of water, opened it, full bottle. They started shaking it and water's going everywhere. And I was like, whoa, this is cool. And he asked his congregation a very simple question. He asked them, why does the water spill out? I thought the answer was pretty obvious, but of course that wasn't the answer. The answer was the water spills out because it's water that's inside. What's inside of you? When life shakes you, which inevitably it will, it is. What's spilling out? And I think the answer for all of us is fear. Fear spills out in these subconscious behaviors and these instincts and these drivers of things that we don't necessarily want to be spilling out of us. So my challenge to each of you today is to become a little more fearless. You'll notice that less is in parentheses. I don't think being fearless is a smart thing. Don't walk out in front of a Greyhound bus because you're like, I don't fear you. Terrible decision, all right? But actively and consciously deciding what deserves your fear. Is it a tiger that deserves your fear? Is a story that needs modifying? When you begin to sort these fears, you move yourself from a space of a subconscious, just responding being to a super conscious person. Be willing to become fearless and imagine what you'll be able to do. Thanks, guys. Do you guys have questions, comments, concerns?
I actually do have a question.
Your feedback, yeah.
So we talk about like biological evolution and how it's faster than our brains are changing. Is there any evidence that our brains are catching up or like starting to change faster?
Yeah, so yes and no. We do see some modifications in the way our brains are processing technology. So we're seeing some immediate effects of device use, of screen time, things like that. But some of the deeper seated instincts, so things like survival, stress. Stress is really just our response to survival, right? So if there's something that can kill us, something that can affect us negatively, we respond with a stress response. And that's such a powerful, deeply ingrained piece of our brain, because if you don't survive, what's the point of anything else? That we're not seeing massive changes in that yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, it seems like the meditation and mindfulness and all these things would have to be like around a long time for that to start.
Yeah. So I should back up and say, well, yes, we do actually see brain changes with people that are meditating. Sorry. There's two things that are happening. One, can you change an individual's brain? Absolutely. That's why we do what we do. That's why I'm giving you these suggestions, because as an individual, you can change your brain. You can change how you process your fears. You can change with meditation, in fact. You can grow your frontal lobe in 4 weeks' time. This is crazy. You can grow brain cells in this frontal lobe where you're making conscious cognitive choices in 4 weeks with meditation, 20 minutes a day. Wow. Wild. So can you adopt? 100%. Are we seeing that change passed along to the next generation? That gets a little dicier. Mm-hmm. So to some extent, people that are meditating, this is really exciting stuff actually through the field of epigenetics. What we're seeing is that some of the markers for blood pressure are lowered even in the next generation. So that's some exciting evolution. But we're not seeing that on a mass scale of people are adapting to technology and passing that along.
Interesting.
I hope that was clear.
It was clear to me.
Okay, good.
Kathy, did you have any questions? Not to put you on the spot, but you're our guest of honor, I guess.
I know a lot of my friends that have families are really struggling. I mean, they've got their own pressures right now with schooling at home and so many changes trying to work at home. And then the kids' lives are disrupted as well. Young kids, but even older ones in schools, things are so different. So they're really struggling to not only keep themselves calmer, but then help their kids do that as well. Do you have any suggestions there?
Yeah, it's I wish I had a be all end all. I got you. Everybody do this, and we'll all be fine. My best suggestion there is to feel it, honestly. Feel that stress for a moment. Recognize what you're stressed out about and how you can change it. So many times we dismiss and we say, oh, no, I'm not suffering as much as this other person, right? I'm not suffering as much as that family that doesn't have food, that family that doesn't have this, that family that, I'm saying here, I don't have kids at home. I'm not dealing with those stressors. And I feel guilty all the time because I'm like, oh, it's fine. I feel bad when I'm thinking, oh man, I'm stressed out about this. Well, yeah, we all have to feel that and feel our own suffering a bit, because we get into this pattern of what's called comparative suffering, where we're saying, well, my suffering is not as bad as that person, so I can't feel it. And unfortunately, what that does is it pushes that feeling down further, and it feels then like we don't have a voice. We're not even worthy of feeling bad. So I would say give everybody the permission they need to feel the suffering, to feel like, if the kids are really stressed out, let them feel that. And then say, okay, what are some ways that we can cope with that? Hear them first, be empathetic with them first, and then perhaps as a family start engaging in some of these tips and tricks. Go get a plant together. Maybe do a 10-minute family meditation together. So these are things that we can do together safely, right? If you are isolated with family, fine. Do it over digital. I mean, it can be kind of fun and a little bit of a discomfort challenge in and of itself to say, hey, Jackie, you want to meet me at 5:00 and we'll do a meditation online together?
I don't know. That sounds scary.
It's so scary. It's so scary. And it's a great way to start addressing this. So I hope that's helpful. I unfortunately, there's going to be no solution that's ideal for everyone. But I think we all need to feel our own feelings, make sure that we're not comparing them to anybody else's, and take the time and space to listen to the story that we're telling ourselves and be kind.
My niece is in Amsterdam. They're 3 and 5, and they've been doing yoga, like video children's
cool.
yoga, and it is the cutest thing.
How cool. I love it.
Yeah. Any other questions? Go ahead, Chip.
Yeah, I've got a similar question, and I think I asked this last time too. But so as a manager, thinking about my team, I'm always looking for what can we implement from a business perspective to help our team deal with stress better. So far from today's talk, I've taken away that we should have more green plants, which I think is a good idea.
Yep.
We should have fewer cucumbers, which I also think is a good idea because I hate cucumbers and we don't have any anyway. But from a business perspective, is there anything else that we can do to help our team deal with the stressful situation in general, but especially the situation we're in right now?
Yeah, I mean, again, a lot of it boils down to empathetic listening. I think everybody is going to have these individual stressors. And as a manager, sitting back and listening and really hearing, and then working together with the person to say, okay, I hear you. I think this is what the story that I'm hearing is this. What do you think we can do together to help alleviate or change that story? And working together to a solution, because everybody's going to have a slightly different problem. Somebody's going to be stuck here, or somebody's going to be stuck without their family or with their family, or, and in each of these things requires somebody to just be heard. We are not biologically built for isolation. We really need community. So even if it's just taking an extra moment to listen, to really, really engage with your workforce, and pick up the phone, give them a call, do an extra Zoom meeting just to check in. That's going to go a really long way to helping people feel like they're still a part of a community that deeply cares about them.
I think you can also lead by example by being honest about your own struggles. I happen to have a particular skill in that. Like, I just have no trouble sharing my struggles. So I try to use it to my advantage. You know, like, I deal with depression. I deal with wanting to take a nap all the time if I let myself think about it too long. So, you know, I've shared some of that in our team chats. And I think, you know, just realizing that we all have something. We all have something that's like extra right now. Either an exacerbated problem or a new problem or a new stress, but
yeah, that's huge. Being vulnerable and being the non-expert, right? Being willing to say, I don't know. We know we've never been here before. And that coming from a leader is really powerful. I think we get into this mindset of like, we have to have all the answers, or like they're looking to me, and nobody's been here before. It's okay not to know. It's okay to say, I'm feeling vulnerable too. Here's where I am. Just as you said, Jackie, I think that's huge. Here's where I am. And here's the action that I'm thinking we should take. What do you think? You know, inviting those extra voices to comment and say, I think we should guide this way. I think we should guide that way. And realizing that you don't have to be the only expert. You don't have to come and demand authority and say, this is how we're going to do it, because likely we're going to get it wrong if we do it that way.
That's great advice.
Any other questions or thoughts? Cool. Well, I think I learned even more this time, Rebecca.
Good.
The monkeys were new. The monkeys were new. Do you really know that lady?
Yeah, actually, it's a man, Franz de Waal. He does really cool work on stress physiology and looking at comparison. So that was about monkey fairness. Yeah.
Is it the one featured on NPR? That
he's been on a lot of stuff. I mean, he's got really fascinating.
I find it. Yeah, that's one of my favorite TED NPR Radio whatever podcast.
Oh yeah. He's been on that. Yep, he's been on
that episode. I've like watched it. I listened to it several times and shared it with people. I just think it's so interesting.
Yeah, go watch his TED Talk, because when he talks through, he'll give a totally different explanation of what's going on as to what I gave. Obviously. Of
course, yeah, you were kind of using it a different way.
Completely using it, with his permission, to be fair. But no, his work is fascinating. So yeah, go check it out.
What was that, Kathy?
What was his name? Frank Wall.
Yeah, and it'll be on my slides, or it is on my slides. Franz de Waal, Monkey Fairness. It's really fascinating stuff.
Okay, can I take back sharing? Let's see.
Oh, sure. Or can I grant you sharing somehow here?
I think Rebecca has to stop.
Yes, I do. There you go. All yours.
Okay. Probably gonna. Is it the right one, Chip?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So, to anyone listening on YouTube, we really appreciate you listening and hope that you enjoyed this. Rebecca teaches 2 of our courses, The Science of Personal Productivity and Blind Spots, Diversity and Inclusion. She's also a learner, an on-screen learner in some of our trainings. So you can learn more about those at getbiggerbrains.com. She's a great teacher on screen, as you can tell. And this is not our next session. I should have updated this. I apologize. Our next session is April 28th. It is Gmail tips and tricks. But you can always go to the blog again to see a list of our latest links for registering for these webinars. And I think that's it.
Thanks so much, guys. It was great to be with you.
Thanks so much, Rebecca. I really appreciate you coming in to redo it. And Jackie, thanks again for hosting.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yay all around.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Kathy, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy.